Real change never takes place from the top on down, but always from the bottom on up.
Bernie Sanders' healthcare for all idea is gaining steam.
Free tuition, free college tuition, free tuition champion, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders added, the greatest threat to national security is climate change.
The future of our planet is at stake.
Sanders taking on Amazon.
Bernie Sanders has been consistent hammering about income inequality.
Nobody in America works 40 hours a week, should be living in poverty. So our economy is rigged. We have a campaign finance system which is corrupt.
Sanders leading the charge to stop war against Yemen.
The first time ever the Senate has voted to end an unauthorized war.
The fight against injustice has been the work of his life.
Jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. We are not going to retreat on women's rights.
Sanders pushing a bold agenda that includes protecting DACA recipients and comprehensive immigration reform.
You don't rip little children away from the arms of their mother.
A major announcement from Amazon. Amazon will raise its minimum wage to $15 an hour. 350,000 workers.
Thousands of workers at Disney World will get raises. It's a victory for Bernie Sanders.
It's a victory for all workers. Brothers and sisters, we have a lot of work in front of us. If we are prepared to stand together, there is no end to what the great people of our nation can accomplish.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to the Convo Couch. I'm Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
Wow. I'm teared up.
Yeah, that's the
Teared
thing.
up.
I was talking to my man Nico House like at 4 a.m. when this happened.
Yes.
And
Crazy
he was like,
girl.
why am I tearing up? I'm like, like it's because we remember 2016. We feel those emotions come right up. And it's a lot, and you know what? And it's because we all feel connected in that way that something has to be done. We can't ignore this anymore. And we've been trying since 2015, before the campaign to actually get things done. And now it's 2019 and we have a chance to do it. And I believe this is our last chance. And fam, today's the day after, Bernie announced today's like the day after Christmas, so to speak.
Yeah. You already unwrapped your toys. Now you get to really play with them. Now you get to see what they're all about.
Now
you get
the
to
work
inspect
comes.
Those toys and see what's in front of you to make those toys work properly.
Exactly.
So he announced 4 a.m. in the morning over here. And
yeah, he didn't even
hit
wait
the
for
ground
us.
running. Fam, this crazy girl was up. I got a text at 4 a.m. I'm rolling over in my sleep and I see Bernie announced at 4 a.m. I'm like, what are you doing up, you maniac?
Yeah, a lot of us didn't sleep that
And
day.
as soon as he announced, fam, you need some Scott Old to win this presidency. How did he do, fam?
So the latest numbers are, in the last 24 hours, Bernie has raised, through the grassroots progressive, through the $27, through hundreds of thousands of donors, $6 million that just knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Kamala's record of 1 million, that was in 24 hours, that was knocked out of the ballpark instantly. Nobody has raised this amount of money that quickly. And that tells you one thing. This isn't something that the campaign did necessarily, that they themselves did. It is the following and the momentum Bernie has. It is the fact that many of us came together months ago and said the minute he announces, we have to flood him with donations because we have to show the special interest groups and the corporatists that we don't need their money. We don't need their super PACs. We don't need to be holden to the special interest groups.
And Johnny Tsunami, I believe you found something that shows that the money that Bernie raised is making someone scared. What do you got for us, Johnny Tsunami? Oh, yeah, put your microphone on. It helps over there. We can't just... What did you find? Tell the audience. Hello.
Check. Okay.
So what did you find, Johnny Tsunami?
I was doing this research.
Mm-hmm.
I found this little web page here and this article, and it links to a certain website.
A certain website.
A certain website.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
That's not the one.
Where is it?
Somebody else is asking for donations now, right?
Yes.
Out of the gate.
yes.
We'll find it. Someone is asking for
a response.
Bernie Sanders hit $6 million. And like you said, fam, you were there. You were ready. It was like people were already with the run, Bernie, run kind of situation. Everybody was just on pins and needles waiting. And they knew as soon as it happened, like Carlos Mero Queen said, we flip that switch. We go to work. We flood him with donations. We let Trump know out the gate that we're coming for that ass.
And the
we're coming for that ass.
And the amount of donations was actually even less than $27. It was actually like around $12 because some people obviously the progressive movement doesn't have the money, but we do have the numbers and we do have like the drive. We're the ones that are suffering, so obviously we're going to be more passionate.
So it's right here. It says Socialist Bernie raised $6 million in 24 hours. You go to this page.
Okay.
Look at this.
Socialist.
This is Mr. Donald J. Trump. Now read this over here because this is great. Where he said the money Bernie Sanders and his campaign just announced in the first 24 hours of his 2020 campaign, and he raised over $6 million from his what base, Johnny?
His socialist base.
So we also know right out the gate from our dear president, we know this too going around. Fam, we talk about the turkey talk. About when it comes around Thanksgiving, when you're sitting there with your uncle, and look at Donald, he's putting up your contribution is $35, and we're going to give you $140. We're going to match it. We're going to triple that son of a bitch. That's how scared they are, and they keep throwing this socialist word around like it's some evil entity. And I hate to tell you, but you ain't going to scare anybody under 50 years old anymore. They want more social programs. They want a better life, fam. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the majority of us now. I mean, we're pretty much taking over from here on out. I mean, that's just how it goes. And you know, that word doesn't really have the same effect as it did a few years ago. No. And to be honest, everybody who's intelligent, as fake as it is adopting Bernie Sanders' platform because they know that is what is hot and popular right now, especially with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez kind of reflecting that as well, and the ideas of Ilhan Omar and all of these new progressives that are coming into the field, so to speak. And Tulsi Gabbard is another one that's reflection of that too.
Well, let's get to his announcement speech. I believe we got a couple sections you sectioned off, and you want to break it down for us, fam. I know I love when you do this stuff. Let's go to the announcement speech. We're going to go 0 through 106 right there.
Right, the announcement speech.
There we are. Yep.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president. And I'm asking you today to be part of an unprecedented grassroots campaign of 1 million active volunteers in every state in our country. Our campaign is not only about defeating Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in modern American history. It is not only about winning the Democratic nomination and the general election. Our campaign is about transforming our country and creating a government based on the principles of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. Our campaign is about taking on the powerful special interests that dominate our economic and political life. I'm talking about Wall Street, the health insurance companies, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry, the military-industrial complex, the private prison industry, and the large multinational corporations that exert such an enormous influence over our lives.
So right off the bat, he's pretty much breaking it down for you exactly what this campaign's about. He's focusing on domestic issues a little bit differently from someone that is just as to the left of Bernie, if not more, but she's focused more on foreign policy issues like Tulsi Gabbard is what I'm talking about. But this is Bernie's strong point, the economic issues, the working class issues, taking down the corporate oligarchy, taking down Wall Street, taking down the insurance companies that are, keeping people sick and profiting off of our sickness.
The military-industrial complex that takes half of our tax money and use it for war. He actually named out specifically who we're going out with. And I think it was really good, too, the way he talked about social and racial justice there. I think he incorporated everybody in there and their needs and concerns. So when you hear people say, oh, he missed an opportunity, I'm like, no. He plainly said right there, it's also about social and racial justice, as well as taking on all these economic challenges, fam.
Exactly.
Let's go to the next part, 245 to 335, fam. What else you got for us?
The powerful special interests in this country have unbelievable power, and they want to maintain the status quo. They have unlimited amounts of money to spend on campaigns and lobbying, and have huge influence over the media and political parties. The only way we will win this election and create a government and an economy that works for all is with a grassroots movement, the likes of which has never been seen in American history.
Nice.
They may have the money and the power. We have the people. That is why we need 1 million Americans who will commit themselves to this campaign.
You know, I told my sister yesterday, Janine, Florida is going to be a big hunting ground. In other words, we win Florida, we win this election. We know that Bernie's going to go up there and he's going to battle up in those particular the Midwest, the Rust Belt, where Hillary Clinton was decimated from her attachment to NAFTA and the corporations that she fluffed up. Those people, she lost that area. Bernie Sanders is on the wall, so he's going to win those areas. But I like the fact that he's calling out, let's get 1 million people in each state. So people like in Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, let's go. It is time to win these states back.
Well, he's saying like 1 million people, like just
Was
a
he
million
saying
people
across the board, or
Yeah,
what?
I think he said across the board.
I thought it was like 1 million in each state.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of people. Can you imagine? Like 50 million people.
Well,
No.
everybody who's going to vote is going to volunteer.
But no, that's actually a lot of people, and you know what? And like, it is going to take all those people to be in multiple states because we're gonna need that. California is going to be one of the most pivotal states as well, and also one of the most hard fought states because of Kamala Harris. So
oh, you know they're going to cheat for her in California. The establishment's already been propping her up. We got to get on the horn, fan, and make sure that we're going to get eyes on California's election.
But I do want to point out something he said. None of this is going to happen. And he said this in other interviews as well that we're going to go over. But none of this is going to happen unless we have the people power. That is a very Marxist statement to make. And I'm not saying that he even is anywhere near that because he's not. Bernie is actually pretty moderate in the world scheme as far as where he stands politically.
Yeah.
But he's talking about a working class revolution. He's talking about people rising up and saying enough is enough. He's talking about people seizing the means of production, seizing these, like, in other words, but that's what he's saying. But that doesn't mean that we are going to see more government control. It is us, the people, holding the government accountable. That's why things like what Donald Trump says make zero sense, because Bernie is actually putting the power back in the hands of the people.
Donald. Let's go to the next part, fam. We got some more beautiful stuff. You got to get to work today.
Now it is time to complete that revolution and implement the vision that we fought for. So here is my question for you. Will you stand with me as part of a 1 million-person grassroots movement which can not only win the Democratic nomination, not only win the general election, but most importantly, help transform this country so that finally we have a government that works for all of us and not just the few. Together, we can create a nation that leads the world in the struggle for peace and for economic, racial, social, and environmental justice. And together, we can defeat Donald Trump and repair the damage he has done to our country. Brothers and sisters, if we stand together, there is no limit to what we can accomplish. I hope you'll join me. Thank you very much.
There you are, fam.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the whole idea, like we need to stand together, we need to work together to defeat Donald Trump. But he also doesn't stop at Donald Trump. He says to focus on the corporations, the lobbyists, all of these people that are negatively influencing our elections, and no other candidate besides maybe Tulsi or Yang have said that. And you know what? And that's something that we need to hear more. And that is literally why Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders, because he's been saying this for the last 30 plus years.
35, 40 years. And it's kind of funny, too, because we have the CBS interview coming on right now. And I woke up to the smears. So I went attacking and debunking the smears, which we'll get into. And then I went back and watched all these interviews that we had on CBS and stuff. And everything was such in a wheelhouse when he was talking to his constituents. Because he later went on TYT and he was speaking to that area of concern to their audience. And watch the CBS interview. He killed it here. He slayed this, fam. You slayed it, dog.
Real change, Don, is not going to come when somebody gets to the White House and say, oh, gee, members of Congress, I think you should, take on the hundreds of millions of dollars spent by the pharmaceutical company, do the right thing. That's not how it's going to happen. It happens when people stand up and fight back. That's the way that real change has always happened in this country.
You used to talk about a revolution. Yes. That's what you're talking about here.
That's right. In other words, once again, it's not going to happen inside the Beltway. The only way that Congress and the White House is going to move is when millions of people really do stand up and say, enough is enough. We want a government, not just rhetoric, this is reality, a government that works for all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
You used to say,
this is dangerous. You're quoting me to myself. All right. What did I say?
You told Bob Schieffer, you said, I think it's fair to say that I'm...
Yeah, that's another one right there. First of all, I gotta tell you, Bernie is camera ready. He's being charismatic. He's being fun. He's being personable. You can really relate to him. And once again, he's talking about the same thing he's been talking about for 35 years about us coming together and fighting back against the establishment, not just one man.
And what does that mean? So he said it's not going to happen out on the inside. And that's what I mean when I'm focusing on. He's literally telling you in a very discreet way that the revolution isn't going to just be electoral.
Yeah.
It's not about just, us infiltrating the Democratic Party, because that's not enough. Because you know what? People get co-opted, because things happen, because you have to work inside those rules. It's about people on the outside coming together and actually pushing that change on the outside as well as on the inside. This is why his critics, people who say, well, Bernie's not to the left enough. Well, he's not really a socialist. Well, Bernie isn't doing enough. That's because he's literally telling you there is only so much I can do within the party electorally. You guys outside the party are the ones that have to carry the torch. Yeah. So this isn't just about Bernie Sanders getting in the presidency. This is about people demanding having a workers' revolution, having
from the ground up.
From the ground up, and just like people in France have done, people in the Catalonia, that is what is going to actually change things.
And I think a lot of things that we learned in this last couple of years when Bernie told us to get involved in the electoral politics from the ground up, there's still a lot more challenges that we have to face. So regardless of Bernie Sanders getting elected or not, we still have to do the work on the ground from the lower levels of government, continue to run, continue to fight the system, and continue to get the AOCs in office, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs. We got to get more of these people in office. So we just can't stop and just say, Bernie, save us. We got to save ourselves.
Exactly.
Let's get to this next part, because there's more good stuff to come. And also, let me just point out that everything that Bernie Sanders has done, fam, because you kind of touched this, it's all part of the plan. You know what I'm saying? It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's strategic.
Yeah.
So when he's had to fall on his sword, where a lot of people were upset that they thought he quit. No, he played it strategically, and now he's in a position to win the White House, and we're in a position to be stronger than ever, because we can also take the Senate back as well. And FDR's new coming comes around. Let's go. My bad. Sorry.
Chicago, 50
Coffee.
miles north, and you'll be in Quebec, Canada. Now, somehow or another in Canada, for a number of decades, they have provided quality care to all people without out-of-pocket expenses. You go in for cancer therapy, you don't take out your wallet. And they do it for about 50% per capita of the cost that we spend. Now, if our friends in Canada can do it, if our friends in the UK can do it in a different way, if our friends in Scandinavia can provide quality health care to all of their people as a right for far less cost than we spend, you tell me why we can't do it. And I will tell you the answer. So I'm not going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to give you the answer. And that is, it is not a healthcare issue. It is a political issue. It's an economic issue. It's the power of the insurance companies and the drug companies. And I'm prepared to take them on.
Let me ask you a policy.
Right.
So he's literally he didn't even let him answer, because they always go back to, well, how are you going to pay for it, Senator? Or how are you going to pay for this? Well, he's telling you, we spend way more than our neighbors in Canada, yet we have nothing compared to what they have. And he's telling you that it's not about the affordability of Medicare for all. It is about the special interest groups, the insurance companies that refuse to actually let people have healthcare as a human right, which it is, and he focuses on that as well.
Yeah, and he, this is something he's been talking about for a long time, and he keeps echoing this Trump because nothing's really changed with Trump. Nothing's really. I mean, he hasn't helped Medicare. He hasn't helped freaking people with health issues. If anything, he's decimated the ACA, which was still just a small lifeline. I mean, I understand it's a program that mandates insurance, and that's bad, and we need to get to the next step. But if anything, he's digressed, and Bernie Sanders is still, speaking the same language. We have it right here in Canada next to us, 50% left per person. How come the greatest country in the world can't do this?
Exactly.
Let's get this last part over here because the CBS interview is awesome. Go back and watch this, people.
Coverage than is currently the case.
So the other challenge to your healthcare plan will be cost. People,
here they go, fam.
Explain it to them, but people will say, "My goodness, there's no way everybody's going to get covered." And some of the estimates that come out.
I need you in the media to help us explain the truth.
Yeah.
We spend twice as much per capita on healthcare as the Canadians. All right. And the reason is we waste an enormous amount of money in administration and an incredibly dysfunctional and complicated system. Our proposal will cost the American people less than the current dysfunctional system. There are some estimates, by the way, that over the next 10 years, the current system, if not changed, could run up to $50 trillion. Now, here's where the dishonesty comes in. All right, people say, Bernie Sanders wants to raise your taxes. What they forget to tell you is that Bernie Sanders is going to do away with all of your private health insurance premiums. You're a family of four, John. The average family now is paying $28,000 a year for health insurance. That's going to end. No more out-of-pocket expenses. No more deductibles. The cost of prescription drugs is going to go down. We expand the kinds of coverage available for senior citizens. It's a good deal.
But that transition, which is essentially...
So, fam, if I got to pay $12,000 more in taxes, but I don't have to pay the $28,000. Do I save money? Because I think it's now $16,000 in my pocket that I didn't have.
Right, exactly, and that's the way to answer it when they tell you that you how are you going to pay for it? He just touches on every single point, and it's something that affects very many of us. I know so many young people that don't have insurance just because, and they can't go to the doctor if anything happens, and you're one illness or one accident away from being in huge debt, and that's just not fair when across the border, and soon across the border in Mexico, and in other countries that are supposed to be third world countries, people have access to healthcare that is completely free, not just access to affordable healthcare, but real healthcare for everybody.
I would like you to remember that Cuba has better health care than the United States. Let's get on to the next stuff, fam, because you got to get to work. The last, we talked about the Sanders campaign raising all this money. It scared Donald Trump. He knows who his adversary is. He knows who his challenge is. He's recognizing it early, and you got to give some. Let's give it up to Trump for at least noticing who his competition.
Yeah,
is going to be.
Bernie said it himself how much they raised. He's really happy. We're just getting started. He's absolutely right. This is just the second day, and a lot of people the media is a little bit different now. Bernie is actually a front runner. A lot of the media has been saying he's actually a front runner. He's no longer the underdog.
Can't lie
anymore. He's coming out completely different, and that's why everything that happened in 2016 had to happen, because he wouldn't be in this position had he taken another route. It was
strategically planned, fam. I think a lot of people, talk to a lot of my friends who are Greens, a lot of people who will not go back to Bernie Sanders. I was watching the Tim Canova special the other day, and there are some areas of concern with Bernie Sanders that we're going to get into, not on this show, because it's all about the happiness, because we know the positives way outweigh the negatives.